in the city of Falenia, where neon signs cast long shadows and old buildings held secrets to powerful families ruled. In the north and west were the masters, sleek white cats in silver-trimmed suits with eyes as cold as ice. In the south and east were the Bossinis' dark-furred cats draped in gold chains and velvet. Both were powerful, both were feared, and both hated each other. For years, a cold war raged. Turf fights, stolen goods, and sabotaged shipments were the city's nightly rhythm. The streets held their breath, terrified of the next clash. Lady Serafina Masters, a graceful snow-white queen, and Lady Carmela Bossini, a sleek charcoal beauty, had been friends long before their marriages turned them into enemies. One night, they met in an abandoned cafe, their paws trembling not from fear but from hope. "Our children will inherit this war," Serafina whispered, "and they will die because of it," Carmela added, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. They knew there was only one path left to save their families and the city, a marriage to unite the bloodlines. Their heirs, Marco Masters and Julie Bossini, were the perfect candidates. They were the same age. They were classmates. They were rivals, but secretly they were also admirers. The families would rather face ruin than admit their children had feelings for each other, but destiny had already started weaving its threads. Marco Masters was the cool, silent type, tall and snow-furred like his father, always wearing a leather jacket over his school uniform. Julie Bossini was the quiet but fiercely intelligent girl with dark stripes and stunning emerald eyes that Marco found himself trying and failing not to stare at in class. Every time their paws brushed accidentally, every time they were paired for a group project, every time Marco found an excuse to walk her halfway home, a tiny, hidden flame grew between them. But neither of them ever dared to confess it. So, when their mothers secretly approached them with the idea of an arranged marriage, their reactions were explosive, but not in the way you'd expect. And in the privacy of their own rooms, both whispered the same word: yes. It seemed like a fairy tale ending was finally within reach. But fate, especially in a city like Falenia, is rarely so kind. Greedy uncles, jealous cousins, and bitter lieutenants saw the marriage as a threat. They intercepted Marco's letter of acceptance to Julie, and Julie's to Marco. In their place, they sent forgeries. The fake letters were brutal and cold. Each one read, "I refuse the marriage. I will never unite with a family of traitors. Prepare for war." Marco and Julie received these letters, and in an instant, their worlds shattered. Both cried silently, their hearts breaking into a million pieces. Marco believed Julie had rejected him. Julie believed Marco had cast her aside, love turned to ash, and the simmering war was about to boil over. It can't be, saw my daughter crying with joy when she agreed. Seraphina's eyes narrowed. Someone tampered with the messages, she hissed. Desperate, they refused to give up. They rushed to organize the wedding anyway, praying their children would see past the lies and show up. The chapel was set up in the neutral territory at the city's center, right where all four districts met. Guards lined the streets, ready for a fight. The mothers stood trembling at the altar, waiting and hoping for a miracle. That night, Marco sat in his room, staring at the forged letter in his paw. The paper wrinkled from his tight grip, so she never felt the same. He whispered, hot tears falling onto his white fur. But as he looked out at the moonlight, he thought of her smile, her quiet strength, her kindness, and he knew deep in his gut that he couldn't let it end like this. He had to try, even if it meant facing total humiliation. He threw on his suit and ran into the night, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm of hope and fear. Meanwhile, Julie stood in her mother's old wedding gown, a beautiful dress of white silk and gold embroidery. Her paws trembled as she touched the delicate veil. "He never wanted me," she whispered, biting her lip to stop the sobs. But a stubborn voice inside her refused to accept it. What if it's all a misunderstanding? She thought. Wiping her tears, she took a deep breath and stepped out into the cold, silent night. The moment Julie walked into the chapel, the air filled with gasps. And just seconds behind her, Marco arrived, breathless, his eyes wide with disbelief. They froze, seeing each other across the aisle. Marco took a hesitant step forward. "Julie, I got your letter." Julie's voice cracked as she replied, "And I got yours." They both slowly pulled out the fake, cruel letters. Their parents stared, finally understanding the depth of the betrayal. Marco's jaw tightened, his eyes burning with a mix of anger and relief. "I never rejected you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Julie's tears finally spilled over. "Marco, I wanted this more than anything." In that moment, their hearts, which had broken separately, began to heal together. The two mothers burst into relieved sobs. Even the proud, stubborn fathers felt their hardened hearts soften. Marco took Julie's paw in his. "Do you still want to marry me?" he asked. Julie nodded, her voice shaking but certain. "Yes, I always did." But the drama wasn't over. During the vows, the traitors, the very family members who forged the letters, rushed in, armed and ready to stop the wedding once and for all. But this time, they weren't just facing the families. The entire city, exhausted by years of bloodshed, stood in their way. Old cats, young cats, shopkeepers and workers, they formed a living barricade. "No more war," they chanted, their voices echoing through the streets. The traitors were surrounded and arrested on the spot. Under the ancient cathedral lights, Marco and Julie finally faced each other, tears of joy streaming down their faces. Their vows became a promise to the entire city: in unity, peace in peace, a new life, together, forever. When they kissed, Falenia erupted into a single, unified cheer. The North and South, East and West were finally one. The war was over. For the first time in decades, the streets were quiet, filled not with fear, but with celebration. Marco and Julie became symbols of hope, ruling their united city with fairness and love. Their journey was filled with sadness, betrayal, and heartbreak, but it was their unwavering love that ultimately healed Falenia. It just goes to show you that sometimes the saddest stories can lead to the most beautiful endings. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next video.